Good evening. I call to order the July 2016 legislative meeting of Media Borough Council. Please stand and join me in our pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It looks as if we have a short agenda, but looks are sometimes deceiving.
Not deceiving.
We'll see how things work out. First item, a couple of housekeeping matters. Approval of 2 sets of meeting minutes. We had a workshop for June 2, and we have minutes that reflect the proceedings. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, or to approve the meeting minutes for our workshop as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those who favor adopting the June 2, 2016 workshop meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Second item, our council meeting minutes for our legislative meeting of this past month. Do I hear a motion to approve those meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second? There. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those who favor approving the June 16, 2016 meeting minutes of council's legislative session, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. All right. We'll now move into public comment and privilege of the floor, and I believe that we have a special presentation this evening. So there has to be a special presentation.
We hope
Somebody's
there's
sitting there with a banana outfit on.
Yeah, Brian, I just want to, we have some fair traders here that are going to be passing out some awards in honor of the Fair Trade's 10th anniversary.
Yes, it's been 10 years since Media, Pennsylvania became America's first fair trade town. And since that time, we've hosted many events and had all kinds of wonderful interactions with the town in the form of promoting fair trade products and educating about fair trade, and generally reaching out to other communities that are also making the commitment to promote and educate about fair trade and participate by getting wonderful bananas.
Drew Arata of South Olive Street, correct?
Yes, I'm Andrew Arata from South Olive Street, correct. Thank you. Or 23 West State Street at Earth and State.
You're on State Street more than you are at your other place.
I hover in between there and that space a lot. My 3-mile radius is more like a 3-block radius. But without further ado, we'd like to present our Fair Trade Awards, because you have a busy agenda, for 2016. So first is receiving our Fair Trade Award first. We're going to award Media's Fair Trade Town Exuberant Fair Trade Business Award to Bittersweet Kitchen. So in honor of this, these guys are going to stand up with me. Here we go. You can hold this, hand some bananas out to everybody. Very good. At Media's Farmers Market every week, the Fair Trade Committee has been committed to have bananas, and it's been very successful and a great way to get bananas into the community that are through fair trade sources. So enjoy your potassium, everybody. It's good for you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. The last time I was here, I was super nervous, hoping that everyone was going to say, yes, we can open for business.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
Only good things happen to you when you come to Borough Council.
That's right. It's really true.
In addition, we have an award for our founder, Dr. Hal Taussig Sr., who we unfortunately lost this year. But this would be our historical award every year that we've awarded. But we're calling it this year the Pioneer Extraordinaire Award. Hal really encouraged and put the right people in the mix to allow us to become a fair trade town. And we owe a lot, almost everything to him, to setting up the Fair Trade Committee. So we wanted to appreciate him officially with our historical award, the Pioneer Extraordinaire Award to Hal Taussig. Receiving the award tonight is Mary Lefevre from the Walden School, the founder of the Walden School, who received a loan from the Untours Foundation to found her school and helped and encouraged her to succeed. And we've been around a really long, how many years now?
We're into our 50th year.
50th year.
Our anniversary is coming up in September of 2017.
2017, it'll be 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And the original loan went through Hal, and they even became the first fair trade elementary school in the United States.
Yeah.
So we're really happy to award you with Hal's.
I'm really a stand-in for Elizabeth Killow, who was his right-hand person and catalyst for getting this wonderful fair trade honor to media. So she had another engagement with the Untours Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Always props to Elizabeth. She's the glue of our committee. Let's see here. I got two more awards going on here. I will say that we're going to present another award for Daryl Clark, our regional award, our champion on the Philadelphia Town Council, who helped make Philadelphia a fair trade city, which happened this year as well. So we'll present that at next month out there. We'd also like to award our trailblazer, instigator, and motivator, and an international best friend of fair trade award this year. Receiving the award, she should also take part of it. The hostess with the mostest is Wendy Hibbard. Stanley T. Hibbard is receiving our trailblazer instigator award. So Tom has always been a voice in the government and the local business community to help fair trade go well here in town, and is always fighting for it. And they've hosted countless of national, local, international, and guests during visits for the fair trade town.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you.
couldn't be here.
You couldn't make it
But,
tonight.
yeah, thank you.
But you're taping it, right? You get it on your
TV right now.
Yeah, it's happening.
Hi, Tom.
I think you can get it later.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah.
We'll make sure it stays.
Okay.
Okay. Last but not least, we'd like to thank our mayor, Robert McMahon. Mayor McMahon. He's our Superstar Leader Award. He's been there for when we needed to adopt numerous. For Fair Trade Live, we tried to adopt an international proclamation. Thank you. The words aren't coming to me. An international proclamation on fair trade, and he just said where and when, and he was there. He ran out to Walling for a quick afternoon. I think he had to get to a wedding the next day, and he took care of that, and then it was presented the next month here. And we really would like to thank Mayor McMahon for all his help in fair trade and Fair Trade Live over the years.
Thank you. I've been privileged to have a lot of relationships in the media over the last 30-some years, 35 years, whatever. None better than Tom Hibbard. I dragged him into some things, not kicking and screaming, but got him on the theater board. He basically saved the theater. Got him on the NBA. He's done an excellent job. I don't know how long he's been on there. I think that was over 10 years ago. He's the ultimate volunteer. He knows more about media than anybody else. And Tom, we love you if you're watching, and thank you for all you've done. And of course, you introduced me to fair trade 10 years ago. So thank you for that.
Extra bananas. Other than than that, we meet every Thursday. You can find us at every Thursday morning at 9:30, various locations. We have farmers market each month. Is there anything else I need to mention?
That's it for now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your help.
Thank you, Drew. Congratulations to all of the recipients. And you can take the banana suit off now. Or maybe. All right. Well, that was the highlight. Is there anybody else who wishes to address council at this time? Please come forward and tell us your name and where you live. No other takers this evening, so we'll move on. We'll move to our engineer and his report, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things for the council's attention. Our council approved the boiler and generator contracts at the June meeting. We received all the paperwork, reviewed all the submittals for all of the equipment, and have prepared the final contracts, which are in the form ready to be signed by the council this evening. So we coordinated with the borough manager. We do have 4 copies for the signature council for the generator and the boiler. So that can get started as soon as possible. Both contractors are eager to get started. I had the opportunity to meet with Evan Miller of the capital improvements plan. Evan is very, very sharp. He's been doing some great things. He had a lot more questions than I could possibly think of or have answers for. So we're in conversation and coordinating about some of the different elements that are going into the capital improvements plan. So please, thank you. Thank you for the
We also get to give our solicitor a banana too.
Thank you.
He's the second banana.
We do have a draft of the elevator contract. We were authorized to prepare the bid plan specifications and bid documents for the elevator contract. We'll be submitting those over to the solicitor for his review prior to issuance on pen bid so that we can get a contractor to replace the elevator in the borough building. And I believe we're on track for the road program this year. Again, it was awarded to Joe Sugar and Sons, and their deadline, as they've been communicated, is August 26th.
Coming up soon. Any questions for our engineer? Hearing none, we'll pass the baton over to Mr. Scott, our solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Scott? We'll then look to the mayor for his report.
Okay, a couple of things. Last month, June, the police department handled a total of 641 complaints. No burglaries during the month of June. The physical agility tests for the police applicants will occur this Saturday morning, July 23rd. The newly purchased speed sign has been placed into service and will be utilized throughout the borough. I now know how fast I'm going when I go down Jackson Street. I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing 21 and 25 seconds. I thought maybe I was going fast. I announced this at the Borough Council workshop last week, but I just want to bring it up again, and this will be a brief version of it. Last week, a man drove down Orange Street, crossed State Street, and made a left turn into a building, taking down the post office box and also hitting a lantern. He hit no one. People went into the building before he was driving down. I was in the car with the chief and Officer Brown coming from a meeting at the county when we heard on the radio, man with heart attack crashed into a building. We went down that way. Officer Brown jumped out to help. As it turned out, the man did not have a heart attack. He had a drug overdose. Officer Brown joined Officer Light and the medic in saving the man's life. And if you were going by there now, you probably know nothing. You would have thought nothing happened. It's been pretty well cleaned up. So next, Dining Under the Stars. We had to adjust a few things last night. We learned that last night was probably going to be the largest crowd we ever had for Dining Under the Stars, and it turned out to be that way. Not only were all the seats pretty well filled, but the street was filled. And we've had a couple of restaurants added recently too, and more are being added next week, or one more anyway, or next week or two. We estimate that we're probably at least 7,000 people on the street, and so that required a couple of adjustments that we hadn't planned on, but we knew that the reservations were far ahead of what they had been previously. I'm not going to read the assault that happened last night in full because I talked to the victim tonight, and there's a little bit more to it. But Media Borough Police are investigating an assault which occurred July 20th, 2016 at 1637. That's far removed from the military, but that's 437. In the parking lot of 500 North Lemon Street. Victim had just exited his vehicle when he was struck, and struck him. They took off. A lady did peek out the window and fortunately saw him laying on the ground, came out and helped him, and we're going to be discussing that further. So I'm going to let that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Hearing none, we'll move on to the council committee reports. Mr. Boyer, Recreation and Board of Health.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a few quick announcements and one item of business for the Board of Health. The Media Youth Center summer camp is in full swing. The attendance has been averaging 11 to 15 kids per week. The last week of camp is August 15th through the 19th, so I'm sure there are openings left. If you would like to register, you can go to their website, and the link is there so you can sign up that way. July 4th celebration, sponsored by the rec board, went well. According to the Paula's notes, there was a light crowd, but I went by and it seemed like the field was pretty well filled, so everybody seemed to have a great time. And always give credit to the rec board. Just a few people put on the show and a party for a whole lot of people, and it makes the borough look really good, and everyone has a great time. So thanks to them for doing that. Upcoming business, tennis camp for kids usually, and I don't have the range of ages here, but generally it's kids of elementary school age. Those would be the weeks of August 15th and 22nd, and generally there's 1 week for younger children and 1 week for older children. So you can pursue that by going to the website for the rec board and registering for tennis camp. Under the Board of Health, there is one item of business, Resolution 216 or 2016-32 is to appoint Sarah Mark as the newest member to the Board of Health for a term expiring December 31st, 2016, and I make that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those who favor approving Resolution 2016-32, which will appoint Sarah Mark to the Board of Health for a term that expires at the end of this year, December 31, 2016, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Welcome aboard, Ms. Mark.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Boyer? Hearing none, we'll then turn to RMNBA and Historic, Councilwoman Lisa Johnson.
Thank you. I have no new information from last week's meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Is there any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Vice President Robinson, Properties, Public Works, Public Safety, and Fire.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending and participating at home. As I do each month, I like to encourage residents of the borough and the community to volunteer their time to the Media Fire Company. They are always in need of firefighters and administrative help. To give the chief's report for last month, the borough's Media Fire Company had 40 runs, 16 for media, 24 with a mutual aid. And this is one that is somewhat disturbing, but I think is very important. We had 14 runs with light manpower. And to be candid, until recently, I was not aware of what exactly light manpower meant. And that was that they had 3 or less members on a truck when they had to take off for a fire. Adding to that, and I'm sure many of you in the borough are aware of this, but for those that may not be aware, on July 19th at 8 o'clock in the morning at the underground parking garage of the courthouse complex, there was a automobile fire, which caused an extreme amount of smoke and could have been a significant fire if it was not for the sprinkler system. With that call, we were at light manpower. Only 3 firemen were able to attend. Once they reached it, they recognized the intensity of the fire, and several other, meaning 7 or 8 other fire companies within the area also responded. So again, I encourage residents to seriously think about it. If we do not start to get volunteers, I am concerned that this borough is going to have to start to take a look at a paid force that is occurring in many of our other local communities. That's, enough about the fire company. To add on to the mayor with regards to the radar signs, these are a new type of radar signs. They are here to help you, as the mayor said, recognize your speed limit. But the significant change from our older model is this will record the amount of cars and the speeds that they're doing. This will dramatically help our police department determine where they need to have greater enforcement and when they should be there for this enforcement. We currently purchased one sign. Seeing how it works out, it is public safety's intent that somewhere latter summer that we will place an order for a second sign so that we can use them. I think, as the mayor said, they're a big help for having all of us recognize if we're being good drivers or if we're being bad drivers. So I encourage you to take a look at signs and recognize that speed limit everywhere in the borough is 25 miles an hour. With regards to my agenda items, this is going to be a quick one. On the first one on my agenda is referencing our civil service regulations. We're not going to authorize anything this evening, but if the solicitor would take a minute or two just to kind of give a thumbnail sketch on what we're required to do, because it's basically a housekeeping matter.
Yeah, it's just updating the rules to comply with recent changes to Pennsylvania law. Previously, 2 out of 3 members constituted a quorum. The new statute requires that at least 3 be present. The new statute allows you to appoint alternates to help get you to that 3 members in case you have an absent member. So it was just changing the regulations to conform them to those new requirements.
This will be brought before the Civil Service Commission sometime within the next month and will be up for an agenda vote at August's meeting. Next 3 we'll go through relatively quick due to the fact that all these mass gatherings have already occurred, so there's not much that we can argue about. I make a motion that we ratify the mass gathering permit application for Bridge Street Films that were here on June 22nd filming a commercial.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I sure hope there is, okay. All those in favor of ratifying the mass gathering permit, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion to ratify passes.
Make a motion that we ratify the mass gathering permit application for Blue Visual Films. The function occurred on July 13th, 2016.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of ratifying the mass gathering permit for Blue Visual Films, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
Last on my agenda is to ratify the mass gathering permit for Bastille Day. It was originally it was held on Saturday, July 16th. It was originally going to be held the week before, but it was bad weather, so they had to change it. So I make a motion we ratify the mass gathering permit of Bastille Day celebration, which was held on July 16th, 2016.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of ratifying the mass gathering permit application with regard to Bastille Day, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Vice President Robinson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Community Development, Personnel, and Media Arts Council. That's my portion of the agenda. First item is a zoning hearing board application. This is a request for variances. The property involved is one that many of us are familiar with. It is the property on Baltimore Avenue between Radnor Street and Manchester Street, or between the Sunoco and between the Dunkin' Donuts. Currently, it is an empty lot. And the applicant is seeking to construct a new CVS drugstore on that site. The current, should that a new CVS be built, the current CVS, which is the property which is under lease, the CVS will be closed and a new CVS will open at the new site. Our role as council is to decide whether or not to send our solicitor to oppose the requested variances. Just to be clear, we're not approving any plans here tonight. The variance requests will be heard and decided by our zoning hearing board. I believe this coming Thursday, last Thursday of this month. I think that's the 28th, if I'm correct. The issue here is not a use variance. This is in the HBO district, the Highway Business Office District, and a store such as this is permitted by right. The issue is with the dimensional requirements that are imposed by the TND, the Traditional Neighborhood Overlay District, that overlay is part of the HBO area. The variances really, I think, arise out of the TND's anticipation that there would be separate plots that would be developed over time, not an entire city block. This is an entire city block, and as a result, such things as putting a vegetative buffer around all four walls of the building becomes an issue. And there are other dimensional variances that are requested here. And if anybody wishes to go into detail on them, I'll turn to our engineer. But we have discussed these in our workshop session already. I do not see, well, I'll back up a little bit. Our planning commission has heard discussion on this application over the past several months. And after discussion with the applicant, the planning commission moved that Borough Council oppose the requested variances, or let me send our solicitor to oppose the requested variances. As we all know, the Planning Commission is an advisory body, and we give their decisions what way we think their decisions deserve. Many times we agree with them, sometimes we do not. In this case, I am not going to make a motion that we send our solicitor to oppose the requested variances. The reason I am not is, well, I'd like to be consistent. I have consistently said that so long as the use is not offensive, and clearly the use is not offensive, there already is a CVS drugstore across the street. I think many people in the borough use that. And so long as the use is not offensive, that unless the requested variances somehow impact negatively on the health, welfare, and safety of the borough, then we should allow the zoning hearing board to figure things out at their hearing. So I am not going to make a motion. Any member of council, should they choose to, can make a motion that we send our solicitor to oppose the variances, and will follow the 5-second rule.
Do you have a list of what the variances are?
Yes.
So the public would at least know what we're not going to, or possibly not going to propose. Sorry.
I do have a list here. Let's see if I can pull it out of my hat. Here it is, right here. Okay. Sorry about that. Item number 1 is they're seeking a variance to allow for a landscape planting area around the entire perimeter of the principal building. And that needs to be 5 feet or 5 feet or more. The difficulty with this is that the T&D was not really written with anticipating that there would be a building that would have 4 walls that face that are exposed. The applicant is willing to put in that buffer on Baltimore Avenue, but they do not plan to put that vegetative buffer on the other 3 faces of the building. Item number 2 is a variance to allow for a building to be located mid-block and not at the street corner. So under the TND, if this building were to be located on Baltimore Avenue, it would either need to be at the corner of Radnor and Baltimore or Manchester and Baltimore. This building is proposed to sit in the middle of that block, and that's in large part due to the topography of the land itself. It's actually a significant slope from east to west of about 10 feet, and it makes it extremely difficult, according to the developer, to build that building if it's going to be at one of the corners. Item number 3, third requested variance, is to allow for off-street parking to be located in a front yard There is parking here on the back end, what I'll call the back end of the building. It faces out towards Franklin Street and on Radnor Street. The difficulty again is that you have a building that will occupy the development that will occupy the entire city block, and therefore it now has two front yards. Item number 4 is to allow for off-street parking lot to be located at a street intersection on a corner lot. Here, that's Baltimore Avenue and Radnor Street. This is related to the previous requested variance. Again, this is a building that's proposed to be mid-block as opposed to on either end of the block. So as I said before, this is a development that is running into some difficulty with an overlay district that I think is very well intentioned and has been very effective, but perhaps doesn't anticipate that there would be a block-wide development, and therefore there are some things that need to be straightened out in front of the zoning hearing board.
I don't think we should oppose it. I don't think we should send a solicitor, but I would encourage us to consider is to either have the Community Development Committee and or solicitor draft some sort of a letter to submit to the zoning hearing board instead of just going in with we're not opposing, to give the zoning hearing board a rational explanation on why we're not opposing these variances, because every single one of them, as you referenced, are extremely legitimate. One of them is in my opinion, from serving for years, is truly a hardship in topography. And I just think it would help assist the zoning hearing in having a better understanding instead of just silence from Borough Council. So I encourage either from CDC and or a solicitor that we submit a letter, just so they understand what's going on. And probably it might not be bad to say, hey, we recognize that maybe we need to do some tweaking to the ordinance because I think we all recognize that there's a future opportunities of full block development, and maybe we need to take that into consideration.
Mr. Scott, I don't take a position on this one way or the other. Do you see any difficulty in providing such a letter?
I don't have any problem with that. I don't mind doing that.
I think it would help us instead of just being silent, and help the zoning hearing board, and without a doubt would assist the applicant.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So long as you're putting pen to paper, it's something that we discussed in workshop, and I think that there's an agreement from the developer that they consider putting in some sidewalks that would connect the building to Franklin Street. There's actually a fairly wide expanse of green space between Franklin Street and what would be the south side of this building. And it's likely that people from the south side of Media will just walk across the grass, so it might be a good idea if they can have some attractive sidewalks that would lead folks into the CVS. And item number 2 is with regard to a wall on the west side of the block. If they can terrace that, soften it up in some way, I think that's something that council would like to see happen as well.
Now here's the $1 million question: do we just have the solicitor do it, or do we have to vote on this?
Well, I think you probably should to authorize me to send that letter, and I can just distribute a draft probably on Monday. It won't happen tomorrow, and I hope and say object by the end of the day, or this is the way of the law.
All right, and I make that in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that. Is there any discussion with regards to the motion that the President made and I seconded? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, item number 2 I think is pretty straightforward. About a year ago, the borough was fortunate to receive a grant for a way-finding signage plan. And over the course of about a year, with many meetings, members of the public, our consultant has crafted such a plan. And tonight we're here to take a vote to adopt that plan. And it's important that at some point when we adopt that plan, I'd like to do that tonight, because we can't apply for grants to start putting in the wayfinding signage until after we've adopted the plan. So tonight I make the motion that we adopt the wayfinding signage plan. That's resolution 2016-33.
Motion's made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion with regards to the motion? All those in favor of passing Resolution 2016 regarding the wayfinding signage plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number 3, Resolution 2016-34. This is resubmission of a grant application. We made an application last year for purposes of getting some money, and the money would be used towards new markings at 9 of our intersections. There are signal intersections at Baltimore Avenue and Providence Road. The money would be used towards providing stamped asphalt crosswalks and highly visible thermoplastic markings. In other words, these are high-tech crosswalks that make it more obvious to drivers and to pedestrians that the crosswalks are there, and should make those intersections safer. So we would, there is a grant money that are potentially available, and you've got to be in it to win it. So I move that we adopt Resolution 2016-34, which will allow us to apply for the grant monies.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second. Any discussion regarding the motion? All those in favor of passing Resolution 2016-34, the resubmission of the grant application, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number 4. This is authorization to advertise for request for proposals. This is to update a downtown strategy report, an economic development study. Currently, the borough has one. It is more than 10 years old, and we're looking to update that. Fortunately, we have been able to secure some grant funding for purposes of conducting such a study. And again, we have to be in it. Well, we were in and we won it. So now we're going to put that money to good use. So I move that we authorize the advertisement of a request for proposal for updating our downtown strategy report and economic development study for our business district.
Motion's made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion regarding the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number 5 is involves a letter of commitment for participation in the Walk Works program. The Walk Works program designates certain walkways or paths in communities that are public walkways. It encourages people to get out and exercise. There's signage involved, important places or places of interest. And here the thought was that this might be a great opportunity, and thank you, Councilman Lisa Johnson, for bringing the thought to our attention, that we can have an historic component to this. And the idea was that we would look to the Historic Committee for recommendations as to whether or not this, I think it was the Historic Committee, as well as the Rec Committee, for recommendations as to whether or not this would be appropriate, doable, and immediate. And so I think that tonight what I'm looking for is council's agreement that we send a letter of commitment to this program, subject to recommendation of Rec and Historic, so that we can participate in that Walk Works program. So we're not committing ourselves to anything tonight, but only upon recommendation of those two organizations will we send a letter that signals our commitment to participate in the Walk Works program. So I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Motion made and second. Is there a second to the motion? I'm not sure. We're voting on drafting the letter, but we're not going to send it until it's reviewed by...
No, we're voting on sending a letter if Recreation and Historic agree that this is something that the borough...
So we'll authorize the execution. We'll authorize the execution of the letter of commitment for the participation in the Walk Works program pending review and acceptance by Historic Archives and Recreation. Good?
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion regarding the motion? We will draft a letter. We are authorizing the drafting of the letter and the execution by the President only upon review by our Historic Archives and acceptance of the letter by Historic Archives and review and acceptance by our Recreation Commission.
That's not archives, it's the Media Historical Society.
All right, Media Historical Society. Okay, well, you should have corrected that 3 minutes ago, but go ahead, that's all.
So what's the urgency of drafting the commitment letter now, before these guys have had time to review it?
Actually, no, I think that I'll recharacterize the motion. Subject to Historic and Rec agreeing that this is a good idea, an appropriate program for the borough. Then we will send a letter signaling our commitment to participate in the program. So Rec and Historic get the first crack. If they say it's a good idea, we'll send a letter to commit ourselves. If they say it's not a good idea, then we got to rethink it.
Well, I brought it up in the meeting on Monday night, and they're very interested in learning more about it, but I don't think they have enough information yet to commit that.
But then what I'm trying to figure out, this is ridiculous on a letter. What are they committing? I mean, only thing we're saying, what we're looking to do is to have this walk program. Only thing we're saying is behind your recommendation that instead of having it just for a willy-nilly, here, walk to point A, walk to point B, that you're going to have an experience seeing the historical properties or whatever it is in the borough.
Right.
So I would look at that as the Historic Archives?
No.
Historic Preservation?
Media
Historic Society. That they would simply go, this is a good idea, or we don't like the idea. It's not a complicated process. This is nothing more,
And as part of what we're asking them to do is to educate themselves about the program.
So does it need to be done this month?
No, it doesn't. I don't think that there's any time limitation on it.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we withdraw this and wait for a later date?
Mr. Smith, do we have any time constraints on this?
I looked into it, but
We can hold this over until next month. It's not burning a hole in our pocket.
Sure.
Item number 6. This is ratifying an action we've already taken in workshop. This is the hiring of facilities maintenance worker. The gentleman that we have we have agreed to hire is Frank Lee. He is to be working for a salary amount that is not to exceed $12,000 annually. So I move that we ratify the hiring of Mr. Lee as a facilities maintenance worker for an amount not to exceed $12,000 a year.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding the motion? Those in favor of ratifying the hiring of Frank Lee as the maintenance worker with a salary not to exceed $12,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. All those, the motion passes.
And the facilities maintenance worker is the person who, on a regular basis, comes to Borough Hall, makes sure that everything is in order at the end of the day, and also before there's an event at the community center. Item number 7. Also, we're ratifying an action we've already taken. This is a promotion of Robert Anderson to full-time parking meter maintenance and full-time parking meter maintenance and coin collector. Mr. Anderson had worked the job of coin collector for a number of years. There was another gentleman who recently passed away who worked in the other position. Well, we have decided to consolidate the 2 positions in one person, and Mr. Anderson will be working at the same rate as he's currently working, $15 an hour, but he's working on a full-time as opposed to a part-time basis. So I move that we ratify Mr. Anderson's promotion from a part-time parking meter maintenance and coin collector to a full-time parking meter maintenance and coin collector.
I'll second that motion. So motions been made and seconds. Is there any discussion regarding that motion? All those in favor of ratifying the promotion of Robert Anderson to full-time parking meter maintenance coin collector, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number 8, and last item on my portion of the agenda, is to accept the resignation of Rachel Hetzel, who was our part-time technology coordinator. Ms. Hetzel was our first technology coordinator, and it was a good thing that we had her. There's an awful lot of technology these days, and sometimes it gets out of hand. It was important that we got our technology in hand, and she did a wonderful job in deciding what technology was appropriate for the borough and training those persons who needed to use that technology in a way that was efficient and effective for the borough. Unfortunately for us, Ms. Hetzel has found full-time employment closer to home. She lives in Berks County, and those two proved to be a siren call. So she's decided to accept that position, and she has tendered her resignation. So tonight, I make the motion that we accept her resignation from the part-time position of technology coordinator.
Second.
Motion is made and second. Any discussion regarding the motion? All those in favor of the resignation of part-time technology coordinator, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
All right. Well, that finishes my portion of the agenda. Unless there are any other questions, we'll move to finance and library.
Go ahead.
Peter Williamson is not here tonight, so he is not able to give that report. Unless anybody else has a burning desire to do it, I'll
read those numbers
I'll
off.
read the numbers off. No one else appears to have a burning desire. So, there's one motion, and that is for the payment of the bills. This is the deadbeat motion. We try to avoid being deadbeats. So, the bills that we accrued in the month of June 2016 in total as follows. From the general fund, $326,696.37. From the recreation fund, $5,342.18. Nothing from the liquid fuels fund. Expect we'll hear some more of that in the upcoming months. And from the capital fund, $634,274.67 for a total of $966,313.22. I move that we pay the bills of June 2016 as I've just itemized.
Second. Motion is made second. I do have a question. Mr. Smith, the capital fund seems to be a little bit higher than normal. Debt service?
No, the biggest item was the last payment of the loan to the library of $400,000.
Okay.
Also included the street sweeper, don't hold me to it, roughly $150,000.
I saw that. Modern technology, all...
So they're the real big ones of that amount.
New street sweepers, all fancy looking and curved back end, and we're going to put fire stripes on the side and all like that. It looks completely different than... How old was our old one? 25 years?
It was in '94, so yeah.
21.
There you go.
It's a lot quieter.
It's a lot quieter.
At 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it does make a difference. The other one did let you know it was there.
Hey, when you get older, you get a little bit noisier. We all do. You know what I mean?
That's right. So one announcement, and that is concerning the library. Many residents of the borough were present this past Saturday for the grand reopening of the library. There were many people there who sat through some really difficult weather. It was very hot, and more than a few young kids, and maybe not so young kids, who were really anxious to hear the speeches end and get inside. And when they did, I think that the response was extremely positive. The number I heard was that there were 1,500, so 1,500 persons who visited the library that day, which is a bucket load of people. It took about 10 minutes for folks to file in once the doors were opened. There were that many people there. The library looks wonderful. Please go down and visit it if you haven't already. Keep in mind it is a work in progress, so that at present there are some bare walls there. Eventually, over time, those walls will get filled in, and position of chairs and books, that'll get sorted out in the months to come. If you have any recommendations about how better to organize what the library has, please make them to the library. But for now, enjoy the new library building. So congratulations to the library board for a job well done. Any questions for Peter?
You had fun vacation here?
Yeah, I bet he is. All right, then we'll move on to Fair Trade, Farmers Market, Shade Tree, and Environmental Advisory Council. That's Councilwoman Amy Johnson.
Thank you. EAC did not meet this month. All is quiet on the Shade Tree front. A quick announcement from Fair Trade. September 24th in Philadelphia, there'll be a Mid-Atlantic Regional Fair Trade Conference, bringing together fair trade advocates from communities, campuses, organizations, and businesses across the region. There'll be workshops, seminars, and networking to gain a deeper understanding of the fair trade movement. You can find out more about that event at mediafairtrade.org. As always, just a reminder, every Thursday from 3 to 7 p.m. on the corner of State and Gailey, visit the Media Farmers Market. A new vendor has joined the market, Crisp and Company, selling a variety of pickled products. Pickled beets, dilly beans, and savory pickled mushrooms are some favorites. So that's it. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Public Relations and Historical Archives. Councilwoman Sarah Dixon.
I have no report.
She says with a smile, and we receive with a smile. Thank you. Any questions for Councilwoman Dixon? Hearing none. Anyone who wishes to come forward from the vast audience and make any comments, please come to the microphone. There are no takers, and so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is made, and it has been seconded by someone other than there. Seconded. We are adjourned, folks. Have a good July.